Welcome to the fastest daf in town. Today on Masechtas Ksuvas Daf Tzadi Beis, we are going to begin on the very bottom of Tzadi Aleph Amid Beis, 3 lines on the bottom. Amir Rami Bar Chama, Reuven Shemachar Sadol Shimon. So you have Reuven, and he sold his field to someone else, to Shimon, and it was Shlo Ba'achrayis. Says Rashi, Kol mi shiyitrafena miyadecha, anyone who would take it away from your hands, I'm not going to return you any of the money. So normally, if there's a loan and someone takes away your property, so you can go back to that person because it was ba'achrayis. So this was a field in which Reuven sold to Shimon without achrayis. V'asa Shimon, now Shimon now owns this land, in which, again, if it was taken away, Reuven, he would not be able to get money back from Reuven. But instead, V'asa Shimon u'machal Reuven. So Shimon actually turned around, probably smart, and he decided to sell it to the original owner, back to Reuven. So now Reuven has the original field. So it was Shimon's. It was originally Reuven's. He sold it to Shimon, and then Shimon sells it back to Reuven. Fine. V'asa Shimon u'machal Reuven ba'achrayis. However, in this situation, it was sold ba'achrayis, which means if someone would take away this land, so then Shimon will have to pay Reuven for the land that was taken. Now, v'asa, as we continue to study Beis Amud Aleph, v'asa balchov to Reuven. Now, Reuven's balchov comes v'katarif leminei, and he grabs the property. Now, Reuven is the one that owes the money to some other guy. So this other person, he said, you know what, I'm going to collect this land from him. And they have a right to do that because there's a lien on it. V'katarif leminei. So the question is, now can Reuven go to Shimon because it was sold by achrayis? Does that mean that the achrayis was not only in general if someone would take away this land, but even if it was Reuven's own people that he owed money to, also in that situation, would Shimon have to pay back Reuven? So the din is like this. Dinahu de'ozol Shimon u'mafatzile. The truth is that Shimon Taka has to go and pay it. Says Rashi, Kashem She'ilu Machor Shimon Zel Ishacher. If, let's say, instead of him selling it right back to Reuven, he sold it to some other person, Bachrayis, Uvobal Chayv to Reuven, in that situation, if, as happened before, just as we mentioned, Reuven's people that he owed money to came and Vitarfa took it away. So Shimon Matzapeyu, certainly he would have to pay Reuven in that situation. Val Reuven lo yochel laser shahari lo ba'achrayis lacha. He won't be able to afterwards get it back again because Reuven sold it to him without achrayis. Therefore, that should be the same din. Now that Reuven's creditors themselves come, the din should be the same that he has to pay. That he has to actually pay Reuven. Now, that is one opinion. Amalei Rabbi says no. Nahi granted the achrayis the alma kabulei. I understand that Shimon, when he sold the land back to Reuven, b'achrayis, it was in case some person else, there's a lien for someone for someone else. However, regarding achrayis the nashimi kabulei, it was Reuven's fault. His creditors took it, so Shimon won't need to pay back Reuven. So it's a dispute. Umayda Rava. Now Rava says that normally Shimon would not have to would not have to pay Reuven if this field was taken away. However, Rava will agree. But Reuven shiar sadim Yaakov. Let's say what happened was that Reuven inherited a field from Yaakov, Umachol Shimon shul b'achrayis, and he sold it similar to, as we said before, shul b'achrayis, but originally Reuven got this land as a Yerusha. Yosef Shimon u'machal Reuven b'achrayis, same situation, that Shimon then turns around and sells the same property back to Reuven with achrayis. Yosef al-chayv de Yaakov, and all of a sudden, not Reuven's, but Yaakov, even though, as we said, what happened was Yaakov was related to him. It wasn't actually Reuven himself, his creditors, but Yaakov, who was related to Reuven, his creditors came to Katar Flamine, Dinu de Azul Shimon Fasi Lemine. In that situation, he would have to pay back. he would have to pay back Reuven. My timer. Why would Rav agree in that case? Because Bal Chayv de Yaakov ki Bal Chayv de Almadami. Because since we're not talking about Reuven, the person himself, but we're talking about Yaakov, who's the one that caused the land to be inherited to Reuven, that's considered to be like an outsider. And therefore, the Achrayus was also on him as well. Fine. Reuven shemachar sold Shimon b'Achrayus. So now in this situation, Reuven sold the field, but this time it was with Achrayus, that if someone would take the land, that Reuven would have to pay Shimon. The Zakav love b'milva. So what happened was, Umeis Reuven, Shimon didn't pay for the field. Rather, again, what happened was Reuven sold the field to Shimon, and Zakav b'milva. Shimon didn't pay for the field, rather he was given the field on loan. So again, Shimon never actually paid for the field. He was given this field on loan. That Shimon is now the loveh to Reuven. That Shimon is the borrower and Reuven is the malveh. So because he now has the field, but he didn't actually pay for it, he just owes the money to Reuven, but he didn't pay him yet. Umeis Reuven, and all of a sudden Reuven dies. V'asa Bal Chayv de Reuven, and all of a sudden the Bal Chayv of Reuven comes, the Katarif Lo Shimon, and grabs this land away. And what happened was, Umafaisi Mezuzeh. So in this situation, Shimon gave the creditor the money. So the question is, of the value of the field to this Bal Chayv. So the question is, who gets this field? So Dinahu the Amrile B'nei Reuven, the din is that they could, that B'nei Reuven could say, Anan Matatli Shavak, Avu and Gaboch. Umatatli di Yasmi L'Bal Chayv Lo Mishabde. You owed us money. In other words, you sold my father Reuven, who died. He gave you the land. Well, he sold it to you, but he didn't give us the money. So you're a lova. You don't owe us land. You owe us money for the land that you have. So you actually owe us the money. You, Shimon, can't give this away. So you still owe us the money. So the fact that they gave the money, he gave money to Shimon, to the Bal Chayv, that's not enough, because they had no right. Shimon had no right to just give the money to the Bal Chayv. He owed the money to the assignment, to the children of Reuven. So Amaravi Pikach Idoch. Let's say if Shimon was wise, then Megavilahu Nihilayu, he could have paid them Ara, could have paid them land. V'hader Gavil La Minaihu, and then he could have collected from them Krav Nachman. Rav Nachman, Rabbi Boravua, Yisamim Shigavu Kark B'Chayvis Avian. If let's say you have Yisamim that collect land because of money that was owed to their father, Bal Chayv Chayis V'Goy B'Oisan Nehen. So then they can go, the Bal Chayv can take it back from them. So instead, what Shimon could have done, instead of giving the Bal Chayv the money, he should have given the Simim land, and this way the Bal Chayv would go and collect the land from them. Okay, let's look at question 4. Reuven shemachar sold Shimon b'Achrayus. Again, Reuven sold the field to Shimon with Achrayus, v'zakavu b'milva. But Shimon never paid. He owed money for this land to Reuven, but Reuven died. Question 4. Uba Bal Chayv to Reuven. So these people are coming, wanting their money. V'tar for Karkam and Shimon. They grab this land away. However, Mafayis b'mois. He says, no, don't grab this land. I'm going to give you the money right now. Uba Yisamim ligvos chayva mishimon. And then also the Yisamim come to collect their obligation from Shimon. So you owe us money. You owe us money. You don't owe us land. You owe us money. That was the whole thing. How could Shimon not lose out? So this is what we said. He should actually, because he owes the money, he's allowed to give the Yisamim land to pay off the loan. And then they would be able to turn around and collect it because the land was sold by Achrayus. So this is a way to have alleviated the problem. He could have given them land, and therefore, even So basically, what would happen is the Yisayimim would have their land. The Baal Chayv would take that land, and the reality is that he would be able to now, Shimon could keep the land that he wanted originally. Okay. Probably would have been better if he bought it right away, so this wouldn't have happened. Amarabish, Reuven Shemacher Kol Sadaisa L'Shimon. Let's say Reuven sold, he had hundreds of different fields. He had high quality fields, Edias, Bainis, Ziborius, lower quality fields, and he sold them all to Shimon. V'chazer Shimon, Amacher Sada Achas Levi, and then all of a sudden Shimon, who is now the owner of all of these properties, he sells only one of those hundreds of fields to Levi. Yasa Baal Chayv to Reuven, and all of a sudden the Baal Chayv of Reuven comes, and he says, hey, Reuven owes me money. And Reuven says, I'm broke, I have nothing. There's a lien on all this property. So So the creditors of the Baal Chayv of Reuven can go and collect from Shimon or from Levi, either one, because whether we're talking about Shimon or Levi, those fields go back to Reuven. They're tied. There's a lien all the way to Reuven, and therefore they can collect from the one field that Levi bought, or from the multiple fields that Shimon bought. The only time he could possibly collect from Levi is if he sold Baininus property, because the din is that when it comes to a Baal Chayv, you pay them back with Baininus, with medium fields, average fields, not high quality but not low quality. Even though maybe Mikra Din you could be able to give low quality, but we require that you have to give at least medium quality, because otherwise people may not want to give loans if they are going to get inferior quality land back. Let's say Levi bought high quality land or low quality land. So Levi could say, I purchased land that I knew was not fit for you. Because again, a Baal Chayv can collect from Baininus. So he deliberately did not buy Baininus property from Shimon, because he knew that if there would be a chance that Reuven's creditors would come, that Levi is not going to have to worry about them. That's why he bought, again, this land in which is not linked to the Baal Chayv. Especially, of course, assuming we're talking about where Shimon does have Baininus property in his hands. Okay. Ubaininus nami lo amran eldo shavik baininus dekavasa. The only time is if there was no Baininus left by Shimon, as we continue to study Beis on the Beis. Abel shavik baininus dekavasa matzi yarmule hinach lecha makom lichlois semenu. So again, Levi can say, I didn't want to buy all of his Baininus land. I purposely saved some Baininus land that I didn't want to buy, so that this way you should collect from him. And therefore, Levi, in that situation, again, will be safe from having to the land will be taken from him. It will instead be taken from Shimon. So this question is a very popular question. This is question 5, which we'll do. Also, it was TA 16, TB 17, so it was on a couple of Dirshu actual tests. So it says like this: Reuven macher kol sadaisa l'Shimon. The Chazer Shimon and Macher Sad Achas Levi. Be'ez Oifin Yachal Baal Chayv the Reuven Ligvos Levi. Karkas Shemachal Shimon. So when can he collect from Levi? There's different ways you can read this. So here, in the event that Levi bought Baininus, and also there was no other Baininus by Shimon. So therefore, in that situation, that's when you can collect from Levi. Otherwise, not. Okay. The other two questions are almost identical. They're just written in the opposite direction. When are you not able to collect from Levi? Okay. All right. Weiter. Rabbi, Reuven Shemachar Sadol Shimon Bachrayas. Again, you have Reuven. He sold property to Shimon Bachrayas, so that if the a Baal Chayv from Reuven comes and takes away the land, so Reuven has to pay Shimon back. Yasa Baal Chayv to Reuven, but Qatar Flaminei. So that's precisely what happened. Reuven takes Reuven's Baal Chayv comes and wants to take it. Dinahu de Oz Reuven umafatzile. So actually, Reuven can come and contest this. The person can't say, well, what are you doing here? You have nothing. You're not part of this court case. So Reuven is part of this court case. Why? Because Reuven will say, "Demafkas mine olai hadar." Because if you take this property away, then it's going to be upon me to have to pay back. Says Rashi, "Masha ata moitzim mimenu yachsolai." I sold this to Shimon Bachrayas. So therefore, if it turns out that you're successful in taking this land, then I have to pay Shimon back money. So therefore, I have the right to be able to stand up and to contest your claim. The Ikadi Amri, and this Gemara is mentioned in numerous places in Shas. You can see in the side, Baba Kam, see it. Afil Shul Bachrayas Nami. So if it's Shul Bachrayas, why does Reuven care? Maybe Reuven is not about the Devarim Diyat because they could say Label the Devarim Diyat. You're not part of this case because I can take it away and you don't have any responsibility to pay him any money. So the Armele inichali the Dehavile lo nichali the Dehavile lo Shimon taroim asalai. It's not good for me that Shimon is going to end up having a negative complaints about me. Even though it's true, I can get away with it, but again, it will cause problems. It's very interesting. So even though the truth is there's no real financial gain necessarily in this situation, because if the land is taken away, Reuven doesn't have any responsibility to pay Shimon for it. However, at the same time, there is an element of him being a Baal Dvarim, that he is connected to this court case, because it could have lingering long-time effects. For example, Shimon will never want to lend Reuven or sell him or do any business with him. This could also spread that he maybe was unethical. So it's important also when it comes to long-term thinking, not just short-term thinking, and that could also affect you as well. Reuven Shimon Shlo Bachrayas. So now this will be the last case that Reuven sold to Shimon land, but in this case it was without achrayas. Again, which means that if someone takes away the field, Reuven doesn't have to pay anything. As we continue to Sadi Gimel Amud Aleph. What are asikin? Rashi says Irim. There are people complaining, questioning the ownership of this land. So it becomes problematic. And all of a sudden, Shimon may be like, oh boy, this is not such a good idea. I'm about to buy the Shlo Bachrayas, and all of a sudden, it looks like maybe I'm not going to end up holding this land too long. As long as there was no chazaka, says Rashi, Shimon didn't pay anything, he can back out, he can have his cold feet and say, no, this is, seems like there's a big problem over here. However, once he actually did a kinyan, namely, again, he did something to the land, at that situation, he cannot retract, says Rashi, Shakarka nikna bechazaka, because the land can be acquired through chazaka, and therefore it's his now. Even though there was complaints about it, it's too late because you already are the new owner. Mishum di armile, because a person can say chaysa di kitre savr v'kibus, literally a bag. Rashi says sak katan, a small bag which are filled with knots. So you accepted it. You accepted the deal. Another Rashi says, you put yourself into a bad business decision of purchasing land without achrayas and not really doing enough research. You immediately gave him money and you were koinit, and then all of a sudden, a few seconds later, there's a sikin. That's kind of your problem, and therefore you're stuck. So the question is, it's all totally on a chazaka. So when does this person have a chazaka? Where it says mechidayish ametzri, when a person starts trampling or walking by the boundaries, that shows ownership, and therefore that creates chazaka. This whole notion of being able to back out before the chazaka also could be in a situation when it comes to achrayas, even though you're going to get your land back. And alternatively, even with achrayas, you would say, well, if there's achrayas, so then maybe he should still be able to back out even after has some chazak in it, because after all, even if, let's say, he loses the land, but he's going to be reimbursed anyway, so maybe we allow him a little more wiggle room to walk out of this. Whereas says no, because the Amrulay, because the Reuven could say, Achvi tirpach v'shalim, show me the star that it was collected, then I'll pay you. In other words, you can say, listen, yeah, there are complainers out there. There's a seeking. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it's true. It doesn't necessarily mean what they're saying is valid. So therefore, it's yours. The reality is, it doesn't make any difference. You made a chazaka in it, and if you're concerned that maybe the land's going to be taken away, show me that when it does happen, and then I'll reimburse you because then vishalmach, then I'll pay you. Says Rashi, Yermali achvi tirpach star tirpa. Based in Shikasav Chashiyatza Hasada Miyadcha Bedin, Vataslay Litroy, Vishalmach, Vachuzman Shaliyatzim Yadecha. As long as the land is not taken from you, Lo Shalim. I'm not gonna say you can just go back and pay. Harbi Urim She'ain Zaychem Bedin. A lot of people are not Zaychem Bedin anyway, so I'm not so concerned. We're gonna stop there. Question 6. Ruven Shemach Hasadu Shimon. Yotzel Vasikin, Ha'im Yochoil Shimon Lachserbo. Can he back out before the chazaka? So if it was machar shlo b'acharayis, so then certainly we say, before the chazaka he can be chayzer. However, it's machar b'acharayis machlokas. So maybe again, since it was with acharayis, again we're going to say it doesn't really make any difference. He could still be chayzer as long as the chazaka hasn't been made. Or perhaps we say no, that even before the chazaka still. It's considered to be that's it, and it's considered to be his. Which again, obviously, I have to understand what's the logic in that. But therefore, the notion is that in the event that it's taken away, then we'll talk. But until that happens, these are just a seeking. There are people that complain. People are complaining all the time. It doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to ever have to listen to them. Based in may find that their complaints are not worthy of anything, and therefore, because of that, the din should also be the same. And again. What is the din if it was koidim shehichsik? So again, if it's shlo b'achrayis, then you can be chayzer. Machar b'achrayis is machlokas adkan.